Here. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is a meeting, organizational meeting of the Leominster School Committee. So it's a little different than our typical school committee meetings, but if everyone can please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great, thank you. I'm going to read our school committee statement. The committee represents the needs of all Leominster public school students and places their interests above all others. We will exercise a leadership, adhere to our protocols, and base our decision upon a reasoned assessment of all available information. We will advocate for each of our schools and support high-quality education in Leominster. So at this point in time, we will have the open forum. We have 2 people who have signed up. And again, if anybody is planning on recording this meeting, please announce yourself ahead of time. It is on LA TV, Leominster Access TV, and I believe it's being broadcast live as we speak. Frank Cohen is the first person. If you can unmute yourself, state your name and address for the record. Frank Cohen. Okay, we'll move on to the second person, Amy Catton. And hopefully I pronounced your name right. If you could unmute yourself and go forward. Is Amy Catton on the call? All right, neither of our 2 speakers who've signed up seem to be present. We will move on to see if there's anybody else in the public who would like to address the committee. If so, please unmute yourself, state your name and address for the record. Again, if anybody from the public would like to address the committee, the time to do so is now. Please unmute yourself. And one final and last time, if anybody from the public would like to address the committee during open forum, please unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record. Having no one come forward, we're going to close this portion of our meeting. And again, because our meeting is an organizational one, we're going to move right ahead with forming the committees. The first thing is to elect a chair. Do I have a motion to elect someone as the chair?
I move we elect Eileen Griffin as chair of the school committee.
I'll second.
Do I have a?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a first and second. Is there anybody else who would like to nominate anyone else? All right, all those, so do people feel like we can do these all in bulk? Or would people like to do them one at a time?
Let's do them in bulk. Just go ahead and read them all the nominations, and then you'll have a slate. And if there's no contest, then you'll have a slate of offices, and then you can just put it forward.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we'd like to, next is to nominate a vice chair. And I'd like to nominate Sue Kohler.
I'll
Do we have
second.
a second?
I'll second.
Excellent. Does anybody else wish to make a nomination? If not, we'll move on to the secretary. With some.
Am I muted?
You're unmuted. Go ahead.
Oh, I'll make a motion to appoint Brandon Robbins.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, and Melissa also raised her hand. Brandon, are you all set with that?
That's fine.
Then we need to nominate auditors. 3 auditors.
Okay.
Well, typically we've done, oh, sorry, go ahead, Sue.
Do you want to just do the officers first and then go into committees? We can certainly do that.
I
All
think
right,
that
so we have a first and second for the chair, vice chair, secretary, and there's no opposition to any of those. So all those in favor, it's going to be a voice vote because we are doing this remotely. Ron,
Aye.
Peter,
Yay.
Melissa,
Yay.
Brandon,
yes.
Isabel,
Yay.
Michael,
Yay.
Sue,
Yay.
Dean,
Yes.
and I'll be a yay. All right, the officers have been elected. We'll now go into our other positions. So we'll start with the auditors. Would somebody like to make a nomination or volunteer? I think at this point we have Michael, Sue, and who is the third auditor?
We typically, since I've been on Finance Committee and auditors have been the same group. So at the moment, we have 4 auditors because
Okay.
Isabel, Peter, Sue, and myself. And I'm happy to continue doing that. I
Okay.
I am too.
speak for the others.
I'm comfortable with it also. I do have a current conflict with one. I work for an auto parts company that occasionally sells parts to the body shop. So if that warrant comes up, I can't sign it. That's a new conflict. It's only been an issue once. I had to have Isabel sign it. So if we're going to reduce it to 3, I mean, I'm willing to walk away, but it's only the one thing that's a problem. Otherwise, I'm more than willing to continue.
Sure, and
Yeah,
I only said 3 because that was what was, I think, on the agenda. But
Right. And I
certainly,
think last time we discussed having an alternate anyway.
yeah. So I'm fine with 4.
So 4 is fine.
Yep, I'm fine with 4. So why don't we, I mean, I was going in the order that was written, but why don't we move right on to the finance subcommittee? It sounds like the 4 folks that are on the finance committee, which would be Mike, Peter, Isabel, and Sue, all want to continue being on the finance subcommittee.
Yes.
Yes.
Is there anybody else who wishes to join it? We can only have 4 people, but just require a vote. Okay. And then those 4 people will be the auditors, like we have done thus far.
Yes.
The policy subcommittee has been Ron, Melissa, myself, and Brandon. Is that everyone still willing to be
I'm
on the
happy to
policy
remain.
subcommittee?
Yeah, I'm happy to remain.
I as well.
Okay. Excellent. The athletic advisory, I've been the athletic advisory. I'm, happy to remain. I don't know if anybody else is also interested.
I'm more curious. What is it, Eileen?
So,
Great question.
good question. It's been a little different, I think, this year. Sometimes we get involved with interviewing for coaches for the athletic director's position. Obviously, that's not something we've needed to do. We talk about, programming. Sometimes we've had to add sports or delete sports or ensure that Title IX is being followed. We get, updated certainly this year on, sort of what's been going on with MIAA and the COVID guidelines for sports. We weigh in on that. We've done work around the field behind the high school and the planning for that, getting updates. It's been sort of stagnant for a little while, but it's those kinds of things that have been that are typical duties. We meet 4 times, 3 times a year, one during each sports season. We have the grievance committee, and there really should be 3 on that. I'm not sure who's been on the grievance committee right now. Christine, do you know, or who?
I believe that I'm on it, but
Those-
Okay, let me look. Hang on a second.
And basically, this is basically if there's any issues between personnel and administration, it would be brought to the grievance committee for resolution if it's not able to be resolved at a lower level.
I can't pull up that document.
Okay. So, Peter, are you willing to continue?
Yes.
Would anybody, we need 2 more people to be on the grievance committee?
I
I
think
really
Ronnie,
think need to.
Okay.
Ronnie was one of them also.
Yeah.
All right. So Ron and Melissa, you're both willing to be on the grievance committee. It's
Yep.
not something, it's not a real active committee, but it certainly has that potential to be. And then the negotiations committee, which will be a very busy committee. I know Brandon's been actively involved in that. I'm presuming you're willing to continue.
Yes.
Who else was part of the grievance? Was it, I mean, the negotiations, was it Peter?
Yeah.
Peter and Ron were both on the committee as well.
Okay. Are both of you willing?
I have some interest in that committee. If either of them doesn't want to continue, I don't want to take somebody's spot, but I kind of feel like somebody from finance should be on
Great.
negotiations. So
Great.
Peter takes care of that, but if any of them doesn't want to be on it anymore, I'd be interested.
I mean, I'm willing to relinquish my spot if you have an interest, Michael.
Okay.
All right, perfect. So it'll be Michael, Brandon, and did we say Ron?
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to be a busy committee coming up.
Yes.
All right, I think,
Irene, if you need an alternate, I'd do that as well.
okay, perfect. I think it's always good to have an alternate. You never can tell what's going to happen. So that's great. Thank you, Sue.
Yep.
The only other committee that we are, a subcommittee that we're forming, which is a temporary one, is the transportation committee. And people, our last meeting, I had asked for volunteers, and people who've expressed an interest were Mike, Sue, Ron, and Brandon. So if there's no changes, it makes sense for those volunteers to be appointed. Okay. Any other committees that we're missing?
The CTE representative.
That's
I'm
what
sorry, what? Oh, the CTEI representative? And typically that's been you, Ron. I don't
Yeah.
know whether you wish to choose, excuse me, to continue, or if
I'd like-
anybody else has an
I'd like-
interest. You would like to continue?
Yeah,
Okay,
please.
yep, that's fine. And obviously, you know, as things come up, we may or may not have other ad hoc committees or subcommittees as things come up during the course of the year. Anybody else? Did I get all the others? All right, that kind of closed that portion of our meeting, and then we'll move on to new or old business.
Eileen, do we need to vote to formalize what we just did?
No, they're appointed by the chair. They're appointed by the chair.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yep, so we should be all set. Any other new or old?
You muted yourself,
Very
Eileen.
good, Eileen.
Sorry about that. I was just going to say that obviously our organizational meetings are always short. Our next meeting should be quite hefty because we have things that were left over from our meeting that was canceled right before Christmas.
Okay.
So just to let everyone know that. All right, with nothing else, if I could have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second it.
excellent. Be a voice vote. Ron,
Yay.
Peter,
Yay.
Melissa,
Yay.
Brandon,
Yay.
Isabel,
Yay.
Michael,
Yay.
Sue,
Yay.
Dean,
Yay.
and I'll be a yay. I hope everyone has a very safe and happy new year. And let's hope that our world is changing for the better. And we can get kids back into school.
Correct.